Here we have a simple TypeScript class with a property, a constructor, and a method. Now as mentioned before, TypeScript is configured using a tsconfig.json file. Within that file, we've set the compiler options target to ES5. What this means is that when TypeScript will compile the TS file into its corresponding JS file, it will emit a version of JavaScript that can be run on an ES5 runtime. Now classes are not something that are supported by ES5 runtimes, however they can be simulated by JavaScript functions. And indeed, that is the code that TypeScript will generate when we have the target set to ES5. Now if we set the target to ES2015, which is also known as ES6, which is something that does support JavaScript classes, you can see that when TypeScript transpiles the TS to a JS file, it generates a JavaScript class that is very similar to the original TypeScript source code. Now an even newer feature for JavaScript classes in modern specification is private fields. Now they are very similar to the TypeScript specific private access modifier, and the way they work is that we have to name the field with a hash in the beginning. Now going back to the TypeScript compiler options, ES2015 is not something that supports private fields. So TypeScript will generate JavaScript that can be run on an ES2015 runtime, however it will be a bit more verbose in order to provide features similar to private fields. Now this generated JavaScript relies on an ES2015 feature known as weakmap. Now there is a special value within target called ESNext, which is a way of saying that we want to target the most bleeding edge JavaScript runtimes out there. Now with the target set to ESNext, you can see that the generated JavaScript is identical to the input TypeScript source code, except of course for the type annotations. Now not all features of modern JavaScript can be transpiled into something that can be run on an older JavaScript runtime. As an example, let's go ahead and set our target back to ES5. Now since private fields rely on an ES2015 feature known as weakmap that is not supported by ES5, if we try to compile this code using TypeScript, it will give us an error specifying that the target is too old. Now just as a side note, for this particular example, we don't actually need to use private fields within TypeScript, as we can simply use the private access modifier. Now just like TypeScript type annotations, the private access modifier is something that is only used for compile time type checking and does not actually need any JavaScript runtime support.